This island should not exist. Not because it is dangerous, but because nothing here looks normal. Animals that don't exist anywhere else. Creatures with strange eyes, unusual bodies, unnatural behavior. Some look cute until you realize how different they really are. Welcome to Madagascar, an island where evolution took a completely different path. And what it created feels almost like another world. But here is the question. Why is Madagascar so different? Why do its animals look so strange? And how did they evolve into something so unusual? The answer begins millions of years ago. Madagascar was not always isolated. It was once part of a massive supercontinent connected to Africa and India. But over time, the land began to drift, slowly separating from everything else, until one day it became completely isolated, cut off from the rest of the world. And that is when everything changed. Because isolation creates something powerful. It creates a closed system, a place where evolution can experiment without competition, without outside interference. And over millions of years, that is exactly what happened. Madagascar became a natural laboratory where animals evolved in ways you won't see anywhere else. Take the lemurs. They are found almost nowhere else on Earth. More than 100 species, each one slightly different. Some are tiny, others are larger. Some are active during the day, others only come out at night. Their eyes glow in the dark, watching, waiting, perfectly adapted to their environment. But the deeper you explore, the stranger things become. Because not all creatures here look familiar. Some look like they belong in a nightmare. Like the eye. At first glance, it seems small, harmless, but look closer. Its fingers are long, thin, almost skeletal. One finger is especially disturbing. It taps on trees, listening, searching for insects inside the wood. Then suddenly, it breaks through, pulling prey out with that thin finger. It looks unnatural, almost like something designed for a different world. And for centuries, locals believed it was a bad omen, a creature associated with death. But the eye is just one example, because Madagascar is filled with creatures that defy expectations. Chameleon that can change color in seconds. Some so small they can sit on your fingertip. Others with bright patterns that look unreal, blending perfectly into their surroundings, invisible until they move. Then there are the fossa, a predator unlike anything else on the island. It moves like a cat, but it is not a cat. It climbs trees, hunts lemurs, and dominates the food chain. It is fast, silent, precise. A perfect hunter, evolved in isolation. But perhaps the strangest thing about Madagascar is not just how these animals look. It is how they behave. Because without large predators, many species lost their fear. They evolved without the need to escape quickly, which makes them both fascinating and vulnerable. But there is something even more disturbing. Some scientists believe if Madagascar had remained isolated longer, these creatures could have evolved into something even more extreme, larger, more aggressive, more monstrous. Because evolution has no limits, only time and environment. And Madagascar had both for millions of years, but not everything survived. Some of the most extreme creatures are already gone. Giant lemurs, massive birds that could not fly, creatures far larger than anything alive today. They disappeared after humans arrived, which raises another question. What would Madagascar look like today if those creatures still existed? A land of giant animals, a true prehistoric world. Today, Madagascar remains one of the most unique ecosystems on Earth. Over 90% of its wildlife exists nowhere else, nowhere. That means if it disappears here, it disappears forever. And that is a real danger. Deforestation, climate change, human expansion, all threatening this fragile ecosystem because isolation that once protected it now makes it vulnerable. But despite the risks, Madagascar still feels untouched, wild, strange, almost unreal, a place where evolution took a different path and created creatures that seem almost alien. If you ever walked through its forests, you might feel it. That something here is different. That this island does not follow the same rules, because it doesn't. Madagascar is not just an island. It is a glimpse into what Earth could have been. A world where evolution went in another direction. A world where creatures became something we don't fully understand. And maybe that is the most fascinating part, because places like this remind us that Earth is still full of mysteries, still evolving, still changing, and still capable of creating things that feel completely impossible. If you think Madagascar is strange, there are other places just as unbelievable. Islands, deserts, lakes, where nature breaks its own rules and creates something completely unexpected. Because the truth is, we don't fully understand our own planet. Not yet, and maybe we never will. But there is something even more unusual about Madagascar. It is not just what evolved here. It is what didn't. Many animals you would expect to find simply don't exist. No lions, no tigers, no large predators like those found in Africa, which completely changed how evolution worked. Without major predators, smaller animals were free to explore new behaviors, new adaptations, new survival strategies. And over time, this created species that seem almost out of place. Creatures that should not exist in a normal ecosystem. For example, some lemurs spend most of their time on the ground. Something that would be dangerous anywhere else. But here, it works. Because the usual threats are missing. And then there are the insects. Some of the largest on Earth. Massive stick insects, giant beetles, creatures that look like they belong in a different era, almost prehistoric. Because in isolation, size can change dramatically. Plants here are just as strange. Some trees look like they are growing upside down. Thick trunks, thin branches, like roots, reaching into the sky. These are baobab trees, and they can live for thousands of years, storing water inside their massive trunks, surviving harsh conditions that would kill other plants. But what if this isolation didn't just create unique life? What if it created something we haven't fully discovered yet? Because large parts of Madagascar are still unexplored. Dense forests, remote regions, areas humans rarely visit. And in those places, new species are still being found. Every year, animals no one has seen before. Creatures that were hidden for millions of years, which raises a fascinating possibility. What else is still out there, hidden, waiting, undiscovered? Some scientists believe Madagascar could still hold species we haven't classified, organisms that evolved in isolation and never interacted with the outside world. And because of that, they may behave in completely unexpected ways. Different diets, different instincts, different survival strategies, almost like a separate version of evolution. But time is running out. Because the same isolation that created this world also makes it fragile. When habitats disappear, there is nowhere else to go. No backup environment, no second chance. And once a species is gone, it is gone forever. This has already happened. Many of Madagascar's giant animals no longer exist, lost before we could fully understand them. Which means what we see today is only a fraction of what once existed, a smaller version of something far more extreme. And that makes Madagascar even more mysterious, because we are not seeing the full picture, only what remains. But even now, this island continues to evolve. Slowly, quietly, in ways we don't always notice, because evolution never stops. It adapts, changes, experiments, and Madagascar is still one of the few places on Earth where that process is clearly visible, a living example of what happens when nature is left alone. For millions of years, if you were to compare it to the rest of the world, it would feel like stepping into a parallel version of Earth. Familiar, but not quite the same. And that is why so many people are fascinated by it. Not just because it is beautiful, but because it is different. A reminder that life does not follow a single path. It can take completely different directions, create entirely new outcomes, and produce creatures that feel almost unreal. Madagascar is not just an island. It is a separate experiment, a place where evolution wrote its own story, and we are only seeing one version of it. Because somewhere in the past, there may have been an even stranger version, one we will never fully understand. And maybe that is what makes it so powerful. Because it reminds us that our planet is still full of unknowns, still full of hidden worlds, still capable of surprising us, even after everything we have discovered.